and welcome to another episode of Survive the Wild. So, today is going to be Bushcraft Basics episode 4, and I thought I'd talk about different tinders, mainly natural tinders that you can use, that you can find out, in a pretty much most northern European woodlands. So I'll sort of like just quickly go through the tinders, and then I'll go through them individually on like how you'd use them. So first one, most commonly people know, is birch bark. There's birch trees all around me here. This is probably my favourite form of tinder to use. It takes a flame really easily. You just spend a few minutes to prepare it. There's no problem at all. The second I'm going to go through is amadou. That comes off the horsehoof bracket fungus. It's makes like the trauma layer on top of the bracket, and yeah, also, I mean that's a tinder that you would use with like a nest bundle, like a tinder bundle, so like dry grasses or bracken, that sort of thing, or even some like inner barks. Then here is a piece of fat wood that I've harvested. I can really smell that in there. You can see sort of like the reddish colour in there. That's the resin. I don't know if you can see the sort of shininess there. That is, I mean, it's a little bit on the sticky side, but that's more of the pure resin. And then in my tinder pouch, I also have one of these, and it's spored in my pouch. A Crumble, King Alfred's cake. That's another one you would use for with a tinder bundle. You blow that into flame. And although this is pre-prepared, in here I've got some cotton wool balls. It is a natural material. You can buy it, or you could collect it naturally, but that's another one. So I'll go through all these individually. So let's crack on with it. Black hands now. So I thought I'd get really up close with this, so you can really see what I'm doing. So for the birch bark, like I say, it comes in two forms. One, this is a piece that I've taken off the birch tree, and it would sit sort of like that way, because these lines that you get on trees, a lot of trees, as the bark stretches, you tend to find it's that way, but on silver birch it's the other way, so they come across. So that's another way of identifying the tree, the tree. So hopefully you can do this without it blowing away. So all you have to do is get your knife and just scrape up the surface of the bark. You'll have to excuse the dogs barking in the background. Unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about that. Try and, if you can do it on a flatter surface, it would help. There's not too many flat surfaces you can get out in the woods unless you're prepared to make them. So there's our shavings. The old fire steel, ferrocerium rod. And there we have that. Takes a nice flame really easily. So that's that. Really easy to do. Like I say, all you have to do is scrape up, and away you go. Give it, drop a few sparks in there. The second form of birch bark comes like this, and you just on younger trees you'll find that it, you'll get these papery bits that are that come off, and I don't need all of this. Just give that a good fluff up, and just for the occasion of just using this, what I might do is just to help hold it in place. I'm just going to put that there, and for this you use a slightly different technique. Rather than pushing the knife down, I'm going to draw the fire steel up and just try and shower a few sparks into it eventually, or sometimes it can be a bit harder, but there we have it, and that burns just the same, a bit more vigorously, because obviously there's more surface area there. But a nice easy tinder to use with your ferricidium rod. So that's birch bark. The wind's really starting to kick up a bit now. So that was birch bark. The next one I will go for is the Crumble. Now I don't need to use all the Crumble, so I'm just going to cut that in half. This does make it easier to get a spark in there as well, but it's really easy. I'll do it this way and then I'll sort of like do a close-up as well, but again, good one to use with a ferricidium rod. You could also use this with an old-fashioned flint and steel, but this will, just find a spot there where it'll rest, and then again, rather than going down to it, you could probably go down. I'm just gonna come up with it. Might have to go down to this one. Just slightly rest it on there. These do take sparks really well. There we go. That's not quite cool. And there we have it. That has now taken. Just let the breeze do the rest, and that will give off a tremendous amount of heat. If you get a lot of these together, they burn like charcoal briquettes. And also pretty good as a bit of an insect repellent. You have a few of these smouldering away. There we have it. So I'll do that again a bit closer up and you'll be able to see. So, following on from the cramp balls, which is a fungus, is another fungus. Excuse me. And this is the amadou. This is taken from the horse hoof fungus. So you don't need a huge amount of it. I'm just going to cut a piece off from this, and this is quite tough. I haven't processed this properly enough, but I can just, you know, with the back of the knife, just give it a bit of a bashing, just to soften it up. So it opens up the sort of opens up the material, the fibres, that's the word I was looking for, and you just give that a scrape with your knife a bit, just to give it a bit of a fluff up. I mean, you wouldn't need this much. I mean, you can just scrape up a load of fluff and get like a large amount of fluff to do it. But the way I'm going to just do this is I'm actually going to place the amadou just behind the spine of my knife, take my ferro rod, and then just do that, bring it into it, and then same principle. I didn't quite catch, it was nearly there, but you can use the back of your knife to fluff it up as well if you've got a 90-degree spine on there. You know, just give it a, in fact that works a bit better. This will take longer to grow than the cramp balls, but what you can do is you can, while that's burning, so like I say, it will take a while to grow, you can just cut off the bit you need. Should be able to see the smoke, but I'll do it again. I'll come in a bit closer. And you can just let, like on a breezy day like today, you can just let the wind sort of help build it. So it's coming a bit closer. What I'll do is I'll just do that again. I just try a slightly different technique. Just put a few fine cuts in there. That'll just open up the fibres a bit. Just give it a bit of a bash in. Back of the knife. What you need to do with this stuff, when you take it off the actual fungus itself, it's best to boil this up for a few hours, just on a like a simmer, you know, for a good few hours, That way it softens it up, and when it's still wet, just sort of do what I'm doing now, just give it a good slight beating. Because the more you fluff it up, the easier it will take spark. Again, I'll just try and do it with my other hand so you can see a bit easy. So I'm just putting that area there where I fluffed it all up. It's just a case of getting, there we go. Spark in the right place. Just sort of exaggerate it a bit. And that's the Amadou. I'll just go on to the Cottonwood Falls briefly. These are really simple. Again, it is a natural material. Obviously, you know, these are processed, and all I've done with this is I've just added a bit of Vaseline to it. Not much. Vaseline is, you know, its proper name is petroleum jelly, and as given from the name, it has petroleum in it. So that it doesn't help it ignite. The cotton wool will ignite, provide, you know, as long as it's dry, will ignite extremely easily with a small spark. So it's not a case of that. But what cotton wool does, it burns really quickly. So by adding the petroleum jelly, it slows the burn down a little bit. It also gives it a bit more fuel. But there we go. Easy as that. Really, really easy. And if that hadn't have had the petroleum jelly in it, it would have just burned out already. That'll keep going for about a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, depending on the wind. That's just blowing off there, but it's okay where it is. We'll just put that on top just to extinguish it. So yeah, so that was the cotton wool balls. Really simple to ignite. You know, they'll take a real, you know, simple spark, small spark, bang, away you go. Very lightweight to carry, just easy. So what is left? So we have the firewood. Now, Firewood, probably it's not the easiest of tinders to carry with you, obviously because size. I mean, you can take smaller pieces of this, but it's also, you know, there's techniques of processing. This is like a really raw piece. You know, I've not done anything to it at all. So what I'm going to try and do with this is just make some fine shavings, and I'll probably try and catch them in my hat because it's really windy. So carry on getting some really fine curls. Try and get plenty going. There we go. We'll go in for a closer shot on this one. Hey, eventually. So that was Firewood. Yeah, easy to find in a pine woodland. Usually, you know, the further north or the higher altitude that you are, anywhere in Northern Europe, or Europe, particularly Northern Europe, North America, Canada. Yeah, in some areas that is the only woodland that will be around. So in terms of tinder, unless you can find, oh, it's starting to rain, unless you can find some pines have like a really fine downy inner bark, things like cedar. You can use that as a tinder. That'll take a flame. You can use that for a tinder bundle as well if you're using a bow drill. Oh, wind's getting up a bit again. But yeah, you know, there's quite a few different tinders there that would be useful. So there's the birch bark. Oh, there are two different types of birch bark. The birch bark you would take off a tree by cutting a sheet out, preferably a dead one, or at least dying. The fluffy stuff that you can, you know, just pull off the tree. The amadou, the King Alfred's cake, and the cotton. Now the cotton you can, you know, that is bought, but you can pick up cotton in the wild. In Britain here, up on the highlands, on the moors, cotton grass. In a few months' time that will be coming out. You can sort of collect that. You have to watch the areas because some areas are, you know, conservation areas where you're not allowed to. So just check out your local area. So like what you can and can't do. And then the Firewood. So I've hoped you've enjoyed this episode. Like I say, this is for part of the Bushcraft basics, so it's more for people who are just getting into Bushcraft, who are wanting to learn some techniques before they go out and try, you know, these things or get an idea. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, click like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. There's plenty more. There's loads of videos of my adventures, going out wild camping. Recently went away to North Yorkshire. Hopefully I will be going away at the beginning of next week, fairly close-ish. I think it'll be possibly in the Peak District, or I might revisit a camp. I don't know. One, it's going to have to depend on how I feel. purely because when I was up in the North Yorkshire on the coast, I was really scrambling around the bush around there, and I came across a load of deer tracks. Yeah, that was very interesting. What I didn't notice until I got home was I picked up a tick, and normally, you know, in tick season I took my trousers into my boots to avoid them crawling up, you know, inside of my trouser legs. This one had gone down into my boot to the front and then basically burrowed its way in through my sock and into my toe. And it was in an area where I wouldn't necessarily see it. So it was sort of like right in the corner there. Yeah, this is about 2 weeks ago. Kept an eye on it because I knew the area had got deer in there. And Lyme's disease, you tend to find in areas where you get deer. Kept an eye on it. It went removed the tick. It went down, and then it flared back up about a week later. So I thought, A few days ago, started feeling a bit rough. Nothing massively noticeable, just started feeling a bit tired for no reason. And I was sleeping quite easily. Now, I don't sleep that easily. So I thought, right, I'm gonna go and get myself down to the doctor's. Managed to get myself down yesterday, explained everything, had a look. I'm going to have some bloods done. They're going to be sent off to Southampton, but as a precautionary measure, because of my symptoms, I will be taking a course of antibiotics for a month. So, because they suspect I've got Lyme's disease. Oh yes, I've had plenty of tick bites in the past, been fine. There's only a certain amount of times you can probably get bitten by a tick before you're going to get Lyme's disease if you're out in the woods and in the bush as much as I am. So yeah, I've got that to look forward to, and it is fairly tiring, and it makes you feel tired. It's a bit like having flu, but without the feverishness. Well, that's what I'm getting on that. So aching muscles, bottom of my back has been aching like chronic, tiredness, a little bit of slight confusion, not too bad. Started taking the antibiotics yesterday, they'll get into my system, so hopefully in a few days by the end of the weekend I should be feeling back to normal, but I'll still have to take the antibiotics for a month. And then I'll find out the results from the blood test in about 4 to 6 weeks, by which time I'll probably be off the antibiotics anyway. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, all being well, I'll be going away for a night or two. I'll have to see how I feel, but yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shut up rambling, and hope you have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.